Welcome, mountain bikers. Thanks for tuning in to our 2022 Vital MTB survey analysis. Lucky for you, I'm not alone here because we have Iceman Johan Hjord. He's our Vital MTB tech guru. Apparently, he is a tech whisperer now. And
yes.
A gear whisperer. Yep. And if you want bike of the day, you can bribe him. He takes Venmo. He takes PayPal. He takes Cougar Hands. I don't know, anything pretty cool. He's the man in charge of bike of the day, so hassle him. What's up, Vice Man? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all good, man. You forgot to mention also cash in a brown paper bag. That's also acceptable.
Oh, that's true.
You haven't joined the 21st century yet with all those fancy Venmos and everything. Yeah, just good old cash, man. Get you bike of the day any day.
That's sweet, and it's not traceable.
Yeah, totally not.
Nice. So yeah, I'm excited to go over our reader survey results from this year, and we'll dig into some of the 10-year trends to give everyone out there some background on vitalmtb.com. We conduct a pretty lengthy survey each year, and we've done it for 10 years now. And our readers go through and answer questions about their mountain bikes, their habits, their bike types, the bike prices, future buying intent, all kinds of big questions. And it runs for like 8 to 10 weeks on the site each summer. And it kind of proves how rad Vital MTBers are because, like I said, it's not short. So some reader surveys have a hook in it on other sites or other places where, hey, fill out our survey and you could win a Santa Cruz, for instance. We don't do that because in the past, it's been understood that if you have a hook like that, Santa Cruz would tend to win the survey. So readers can win a Vital t-shirt, but our data is pretty clean. Our riders are passionate, and it's pretty awesome that they take the time to go through and fill all this stuff out. And the results of the survey help us see what kind of bikes are actually out there, what's being ridden, and what kind of mountain biking is getting done. So this is all what Vital MTBers, what you people chose. This isn't Vital saying Specialized is the coolest or RockShox is the best. This is your data from your answers, and stoked to dig into it. To start out, we'll look at some of the 2022 survey results, just this year's results. And then since we've done this for a decade, we'll go into the trends over the last 10 years. All of this information is free to anyone. After the webcast, I'll make sure the links to the PDF and this trend analysis that we're going over, I'll make sure those links are in the description so you can dig in more. And yeah, it's just kind of fun to see 10 years ago what was cool, what trends have come and gone, what stuck around, what's flopped. Maybe we get an indicator of the future. But yeah, I'm ready to get into it. If you are, Johan, participate in the live chat if you're out there. Got Jason Schroeder. He's a little bit under the weather and couldn't be on, but he's going to be in the live chat helping answer questions or, monitor that. So I don't know. Are you ready? I'm ready.
Yeah, totally ready. Yeah, major shout out to all you guys who filled out this survey, actually, because as Sean said, it is quite a bit of work, and it's super interesting to see throughout the years, all you people keep filling it out, and that allows us and you to follow the trends and see a bit more of how you're all thinking. And of course, we know that your favorite brand isn't going to win, and you're going to be terribly upset, but it's okay.
Yeah, and
you'll get over it.
I get the occasional hate mail of how long the survey is. Like, what are you doing? The survey is too long. But I don't know. We have the dedicated hardcores out there that keep it going. So, all right. Without further ado, let's dig on in. This is the first page of the survey results, and it just kind of gives an overview. So as you can see, out of the 10,000 people that participated, 41% say enduro is their favorite type of riding. $5,105 is the average cost of their primary bike, which is nice. It's good to see that. We'll dig into all these a little more specifically as we go. Vital MTB owns an average of 2.3 bicycles, mountain bikes, and 41% of them are planning on buying a new bike within the next year. One thing that I always find pretty amazing is the average household income. Got some ballers out there, and granted, it may be
they clearly do not work in mountain bike media.
That's for sure. Yep. And there could be dual incomes factored into that. But yeah, there's some money to spend. It sure looks like. Um, out of our survey this year, Specialized was the number one choice of bike brand to purchase, and we kind of cross-tabulated that across all the different wheel sizes, travels, all that. So Specialized takes that home. If you're going to buy a fork, the readers want a Rock Shocks. If you're going to buy a rear shock, Fox stays at the top. Shimano owns the brake category for right now, and Derailleur shifter, we have SRAM keeping it at the top. Those are the most to buy in those categories.
Yeah. Super important note on that page. Obviously, it's SRAM, not SRAM. You just need to know that.
SRAM, there's no CH in there.
So if you say SRAM, stop. Just stop. Okay.
Stop.
Yeah, stop it.
All right, digging in, we get to some of the breakdowns, and every year we have 3%, 4% women, and that's always a bummer. We wish there were more women getting on our site. And we try, like right now, we have a Frieda Ronning interview in the B Practice podcast. We make sure the women are in the Vital Raws, and we have women testers and try to cover their gear. But that's something we hope can change, and we're kind of always working on it. If you out there have any suggestions, we'd love to hear it.
Maybe the answer is that they're just busy riding their bike. They're doing it right. They're not, nerding out for hours, filling out surveys on websites. That could be it.
I'm sure that's part of it. Yeah, for sure. And yeah,
I couldn't tell where you put this little sad face, if it's on the single or the married
I know,
category.
right?
Like which one does it correspond to? Like,
I know. After
I have my theories, but
in hindsight, I looked at it. But yeah, I was supposed to underline the female percentage on the site. But yeah, I've got some single, some married. Go through the age of Vital MTBers, their education. There's the household income breakdown. Got 8.8% that pull in $250,000 or more. So, if you want to help sponsor the show, like, come on up.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
You know how many bikes a day you can buy with that kind of money?
Yeah.
Just saying.
So international traffic, Vital is a U.S. website. We're a U.S. outlet, even though, Johan, you're over in Israel right now, but our audience is mostly from the USA. We've got Canadians in there, UK, Australia, all kinds of good stuff. Thanks everyone for hopping on, even if you're not from the USA. And California tops the charts when it comes to the states of Vital MTBers, with Colorado in there. You can see the breakdown. I was stoked. I didn't notice this till this morning, but Idaho at 2.8%. What do you know? It's snowing outside right now, but still have some hardcore mountain bikers here. And
at least online.
At least, right? No, the trails are packed. I'm pretty sure they're out there. Mm-hmm. So a non-mountain bike activity that breaks down, that you can see what other people are interested in outside of mountain biking. Then we get into non-mountain bikes owned, and kind of stock, but what I think is important is that we say e-mountain bike is a non-mountain bike, for anyone that thinks we're all one and the same. Start that argument going quick here, huh?
Yeah. Let's maybe not go there, huh?
Okay, we'll move on.
Not on the third slide.
Sounds good. Road, commuter, gravel, BMXers. And the next thing is, how do you research a mountain bike purchase? Since we conducted the survey on a website, it's not a huge surprise that 80% say they look at websites for their research if they're going to buy a mountain bike or a product. But YouTube's up there, which is pretty cool. Manufacturer websites, good to see. The local bike shop, almost half, and friends, always good to see. So that one breaks down. And to me, the most exciting piece of data on this page is how often Vital MTBers ride. So we have an average of 2.6 times per week, which is pretty awesome, but 45% of Vital MTBers ride 4 or more times a week. That's freaking sweet. Yeah.
Get out there.
Yep.
Yeah, get out there.
For sure.
I just wondered, with the previous slide, with all the money people are making, like when are they riding and when are they making money, or how are they making money? Because something doesn't add up here. Like I need to get in on this.
For sure. $250,000 a year, and you ride 4 times a week. Like, it sounds like a good life. And even the people that only get out 2 or 3 times a month or once a month, like, hey, if you're getting out, that's all we want. Go have fun on the trails, even if it's once a month. So To anyone out there,
Go ride your bike.
exactly, go ride your bike. Trail riding, we break down the types of riding done in the past 12 months: trail, enduro, cross country. Now, Johan, I'm an old guy, but if I'm not on a chairlift or using a shuttle, to me, it's just an XC ride. Like, I'm going to go out on an XC ride no matter what bike I have. Do you break it down like this at all?
No, because I basically just pedal all the time. I do very little shuttling, almost no lift riding. So for me, I just go pedaling. So for me, it breaks down by like how much travel I'm bringing. So
Okay.
how much am I going to suffer on the way up, and how much fun am I going to have on the way down, kind of thing. And yeah, depending on what I'm doing that day, I'll just pick a bike with the right amount of travel. I have some of them stood right behind me here that you can probably see now. So I just grab the one that corresponds to what I want to do that day, and then knee pads or non-knee pad ride. That's the main thing. If it's going to be XC or trail enduro, so enduro.
So is an XC no knee pads?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
And then I ride almost the same trails, go exactly as fast, and but it's an XC ride, so no knee pads. Yeah.
Okay, so it's just riskier. Nice, I like it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Lighter clothes too, so you really get cut up if you fall. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Break down in the favorite type of riding. Ignore the France, Switzerland, Austria thing down there. I messed up on the graphic, but 30% of Vital MTBers have raced in the past 12 months, which is sweet. 60% of those races are enduro. I was pretty shocked to see XC racing so high, but that's pretty cool. And downhill, still up in there. Keeping that downhill dream alive. And
Yeah, that's right.
yep, ridden a bike park. Yep, 3/4 of them have. And shocker, Whistler, favorite mountain bike park. So not really a shocker. It was sweet to see Bike Park Wales in there, though, in second place, just because our audience isn't, as it's got a pretty good UK audience, but it's not huge. So yeah, break on down. Keep on running through. Here's the fun one. See how the comments go. But the cost of your current bike, the average cost, $5,105. Now, I've highlighted some of these things. 7% have a bike that's under $1,000. To me, that just speaks that I don't care what bike I have. I want to go out and ride and have some fun. And that one's
Well done.
pretty
Yeah.
freaking sweet. Yeah. So
Keep shredding.
exactly. And you get into that kind of $3,000 to $7,000 range. That's where the bulk of people are. One thing I noticed too is that you look at the super expensive bikes, $10,000, over $12,000. Not a lot of people have those, which I can understand why. But a lot of times we get sent bikes in that price range to test, and we often try to ask brands like, hey, can we have something that fits our user demographic a little bit better? Like, we're not buying $10,000 bikes. And so I know some people are, but it's just interesting the volume of super high-end bikes that are purchased versus what gets sent to us to test. So
yeah, I mean, you got to understand it. It's easy to relate to, though. If I'm a product manager and I'm going to send a bike out to a website or a magazine, it's easy to just grab the one with all the factory suspension and all the super good wheels, high engagement hubs, most reliable shifting brakes, whatever, because got a fair chance of getting a good review,
for sure.
And it's actually much harder to spec your $3,000 or $4,000 bike and make that, make the hard choices. Like, okay, I'll go suspension over shifting or whatever it is I'm gonna have to do to meet that budget. And that's a tougher one to get right. So
yeah,
it's I would be doing the same thing if I was a product manager, for sure. I'd try to send you our $10,000 bike,
Yep.
and get you stoked to ride it.
Yep, for sure. All right, the average number of bikes owned by a Vital MTBer is 2.3, which is pretty awesome. And the types of bike owned, enduro is king. 60% own an enduro bike. Got trail at 47%. And the highlight here is downhill bikes. Vital MTBer, 17% of them own a downhill bike, and that's more than an e-bike, which I'm excited on.
Yeah, you'd be excited. One more year. Let's do this again in 12 months' time. Guaranteed the e-bike category is above the downhill category.
I think you're going to be right on that one. So we'll revisit this one next year and see what happens. But get up to travel. Got a lot of hardtailers out there, which is pretty cool. Sufferfest, or maybe it's a budget thing, but again, who cares what bike you're on as long as you're getting out and riding. And it kind of breaks down into that 150, 160 mil travel range is king. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Over 180 mils, pretty small, but I don't know. This makes sense. It's kind of what I see out on the trails. Does it kind of jive with what you see?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, 150 to 160 mil bike today is just so capable. And, a lot of those guys who say that they visit bike parks or they ride downhill, they'll be doing that on those bikes these days.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it
Yep.
bleeds over. So
Yep. For sure.
that's where it's at. And most trails you'll get more fun out of a 150 bike that you can actually pedal, you can actually carry some speed on the flatter sections. Overall you'll get more out of that ride
Yeah.
versus your big 180 overbuilt super enduro bike, which is going to be fun for 5% of the trail, and then the rest of it is going to be
Kind of a slog. Yep. Yep.
bit of a slugfest.
Yep. All right. Wheel size owned 29 dominates. We have 62% of people own a 29-inch wheeled mountain bike. Dual 27.5 still hanging in there at 40%. And 26, look at that. 32% still have a 26.
26 ain't dead.
It ain't, not even
No,
close.
well, they can't sell them, so yeah, they're always going to be there.
That's true, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We got mixed wheel, mullet, whatever you want to call it, hanging in there, and then the rest of the kind of fringe, random things hanging out. But where do you normally buy your new bike parts? Online mail order makes sense, but it's cool to see that local bike shops still hanging in. There's a good patch of you going to your local bike shop, support them. It's always a good thing to do. And got the nerd with a wrench emoji, and Vital MTBers do their own repairs. Almost 60% seem to do it on their own rather than go to a local bike shop. So, yeah, it's good to see.
Well done, guys.
Yeah. And based on some of the nerdery that goes on in our forum, it's not really a huge surprise. But got some mail order choices there on the right, upper right, Jensen USA at the top. I was a little surprised to see worldwide down as low as they are, but seems like a
that
market.
correlates to where our readers are from, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm.
Yep. And are you considering purchasing from a consumer direct bike brand? I was surprised to see that basically 3/4 of the people said, yeah, they'll go direct to consumer, because 5 years ago it would have been heresy if you said you would,
Yeah, absolutely. But average cost of a bike these days is 5,000 something, and 5,000 something still buys you, Fox factory level from some direct sales brand, or very close to that anyway. Like probably top of the line from most direct sales brand non e-bike it tops out at about 6 these days.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
And also, don't forget, like 5 years ago, it was kind of still, it wasn't a scary proposition, but buying a bike came with a lot of issues. There were still things being ironed out 5 years ago. Dropper posts weren't super reliable. Some of them still aren't, but some of them are. And so the thing is, you probably want that sort of safety net of the shop standing behind the brand and being there for you when something breaks. And over the last few years, bikes have matured, and also so has reliability. So there's more and more people probably who feel like, yeah, I can actually take this on, and I can manage most of it. And if I really need help, so I'll pay for it. But yeah.
No, that's definitely a good point. So here's one of the fun ones. The number of people users have given mountain bike buying advice to, and average is 5, which is pretty cool. You're stoked on bikes, you want to tell people about it, but 6% have told 25 or more people about which bike to buy. That was
come on, guys. You know who you are, and you need to stop. Okay, you need to stop. That's enough of that. Yeah. Okay.
But if you look down, we've got a pretty good crew of visitors that work in shops, so maybe they fill that little hole. So, all right, we're gonna get into some purchase intent. And so, like we mentioned on that first page, are you going to buy a bike within the next 12 months? 41% of people said they would. And if they are, what is the rear travel of the bike they're going to buy? And hardtail at 10%. That was a shocker to me. I wonder if that might be like a second bike. The kind of downcountry, if you want to use that term without getting, crucified here, but that's at 9%. 25, almost 26% for a 150, 160 bike, and kind of surprised too to see nearly 10% would get something over 180 mils of travel. But yeah, it's
Yeah, 41%. That's a big number, though, when you think about people owning more than 2 bikes. Average bike costs $5,000. There's a lot of good bikes out there. Like, people have been buying bikes over the last few years. These are good bikes these days. There's nothing wrong with your 2 or 3 year old bike. Geometry hasn't come on leaps and bounds, and it's sort of stabilized in the last couple of years. So
yeah,
still 41% want the latest and greatest. So that's still good signs. We know the inventory levels are going back up again, and demand is softening across the industry after COVID. So it's headed that way. But there's still a healthy chunk of people out there that all these brands can go and compete for.
yep. And so I know when we did our rehearsal, you were pretty interested in this one, but if you're buying a new bike, what wheel size? 57% was 29er, and that was lower than the percentage owned. Is that what you picked out when we talked about this before?
Yeah, kind of. It's in that ballpark, but yeah, there's 61% of people said they owned a 29er, but 57% of them are going to buy one. Of the people who are going to buy one next year are going to buy one. So is that tapering off? Is that what that means? The numbers are close, so it's probably, I'm just reading too much into it. But
Yeah, and maybe mullet is part of the reason, since they're more available now,
yeah,
and that seems to have grown. We'll look at the
sure.
trends over the years, but mullet didn't exist a couple years ago as far as anything significant. So but yeah, breaks down.
Are you calling the Specialized Big Hit insignificant? Come on, man.
All right, that was, I don't know, was it 26, 24? Is that still considered a mullet?
Yeah. And I don't remember how long ago it was, but it was like, I don't want to admit to remembering that far back.
That was
myself.
Butter's first bike, I think, or one of the ones he would dock on.
Oh,
so.
was it?
Yep.
And can you imagine that he like battled through and still likes mountain biking? That says something.
That's so good. All right, so if a Vital MTBer was going to buy a new bike, what brand would they buy? And we'll dig into this in a minute, but if you want to start a bike company or a component company, call it Undecided, and you'll win our survey every year. Yep. But
and you already have 17% of the market share, like from day one.
just from
you
day
just
one.
have to make those bikes now. That's all you have to do.
Yep. And so this part of the survey just breaks down. Specialized was the top choice, got Canyon in second, Commensal, and we'll dig into these trends to kind of see what's happened over the last 10 years with all the different brands. Where was it? There's a couple that stuck out to me, but one, like Forbidden, is in there at 1%. And it just seems like with all the chatter, at least within, I don't know, our circles or on the site, like Forbidden seems like people talk about it all the time, really want it. And I was kind of surprised to see it being that low, but at the same time, it's kind of a niche brand too. So maybe it's not all that surprising.
Yeah. You have that's it. But every brand that has sort of jumped into this list from nothing, started from nothing, getting a percent is a big achievement.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of brands out there, and a lot of them are very well established. They own large chunks of the market. That those people aren't going anywhere anytime soon. So getting to a percent, it is definitely significant.
Yep.
And you compare that to Gorilla Gravity down at 0.4 or whatever. They've been doing it for a while. Cannondale is just at 1.1. They've been doing it forever. So well done Forbidden in this case.
Yeah, for sure.
For pointing that one out.
Yep. Mm-hmm. All right, was that the last one? That was. Okay, so let's go to our website trends here, and give me a second. Get this rolling. So again, this is available for anyone to check out. I'll put the links at the bottom, but we have our trends on the site, and this looks over the last 10 years of our survey data, and it's super fun to look at, especially when you look at things like wheel size. If we go back to 2012, 26 dominated, and 27.5 was just a glimmer in the bike industry's eye. And then it only takes 2 years, and then 27.5 passes 26. You have 29 kind of hanging out, doing its thing.
But that's right around where 29ers started getting interesting. And if you go back 2012, the 29ers that were available, they weren't a lot of fun. A lot of the time, there was all kinds of problems. Forks had the wrong offset, components weren't available, wheels would blow up, and geometry was awful.
Yep.
There's all kinds of things going on. And this 27 wheel came in, and people who were sort of like, 29 sounds interesting, but it has all these problems. 27 is like the best of both worlds. So that was just such an easy fix. That was like the market just corrected itself. And of course, all the bike manufacturers, they just took their 26 bikes, made them 27. That's much easier to do than going the whole 29 yards.
Yep.
And so that we saw that it was incredible. But basically, the whole industry just reset its 26 to 27.
Yeah,
and that's really what happened there. And then 29ers started getting good, and now we're in this space where 29ers have taken over completely.
Yeah, for sure. I went and looked back. I was like, because it seemed like Specialized, like I know there are other brands doing 29ers back then, but Specialized seemed like they made a big push early on. And I looked back, and it was in 2013, we did a video with Curtis Keene and Brad Benedict, and it was a Stumpy 26 versus a Stumpy 29. And that kind of seemed like they had the bike figured out, and that was 2013, but people still weren't into it. And
yeah, I remember when did the Enduro 29 come out? That was maybe a year later or two, because they had this whole thing they had to go through to redesign the bottom bracket to get that wheel close to normal chainstay numbers. The sort of Specialized always like a short chainstay, so I remember they got it to like 432 or something, which was unheard of for a 29er, and that kind of might have laid some of the groundwork for 29ers becoming fun again.
Yep.
But that was all happening around that time. So yeah,
but it's just fun to see the rise and the fall of 27 here. 29 kind of crisscrosses around 2019, and then we have mixed wheel size not really being a thing. If I can get that in there, it's kind of tricky. In 2020, mixed wheel size wasn't there. Last year it came up, and it's still going up a little bit, and so it's fun to see.
It'll keep growing.
Yeah, I think so.
It'll keep growing.
Do you think it's mixed wheel is best left with kind of enduro, downhill, longer travel, like compared to trail? I don't see a huge benefit in having a mullet trail bike. But
so the way I look at it, there is no inherent benefit to the mixed wheel size other than giving you more room over the back of the bike. That's like the main thing. If there are small things in the geometry that you feel good for you, like, okay, I can make it turn easier or whatever, that doesn't feel like a main thing to me. But the big thing is we're all moving to 29ers because they're faster, they roll over better, and this is clearly where the industry is headed. And so now you're stuck with the 29er. But what if you're a shorter guy? What if you ride super aggressive terrain? What if it's steep? What if it's what if you're hitting big drops? What if you've got big rocks to roll over? That rear wheel gets in the way. It's just physics. It's not black magic. So this mullet thing for me is a correction for a lot of riders going, hey, actually, I need a bit more room over the rear of the bike. I still want the 29er front because I want to roll over things, and that's what we're seeing there. It's kind of a correction of sorts. It's not like mullets are going to be better than 29ers for all people. Absolutely not. I don't think so. And if it's a trail bike you're looking for, so 120, 130, 140 mil travel, you're not riding super steep aggressive terrain. Definitely, if you can fit it, just go full 29er. You get all the benefits of the bigger wheel for that. And
for sure,
modern geometry makes the bike fun to ride. So
yep, I'm still dual 27. I've got a 5010 as my personal bike, and you mentioned that some of your fun bikes are still dual 27 too, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't feel like bikes. I don't feel like a 29er is specifically something and a 27 is specifically something. I think it has much more to do with what the bike actually is, the geometry, the component choices, how it fits you, how it fits your riding style. There's all kinds of small things, little subtle things that go on that you wouldn't see on paper. You compare numbers and you go, okay, these two bikes look alike, and then you ride them and they're nothing alike, and you're like, okay, how did that happen? And that's the real answer. So if you find a bike that really fits you and that you gel with and that does everything you want it to do, don't get hung up on the numbers. Like, don't be like, oh, I have to get a 29er because my friends are now going 2% faster than me. No, invalid point. If your bike fits you and it's the one you like to ride, then
have at it. Yep, totally agree. All right, so we'll keep
ride your bike.
Yep. So we'll keep on going down. Let everyone know we don't have control over the colors of these graphs, and so sometimes it's kind of hard to see one from the other with all the reds and the oranges and yellows. But you can, when you visit this link, you can roll over certain spots down here and it'll help you kind of select the individual graph. One thing I'm pretty excited about, 27.5 Plus, never got that popular, and now it's gone.
Yeah, good move.
That's me hating.
Good move. Yeah, good riddance. Yes.
All right, so complete bike to buy, like we said, start a brand called Undecided, and you're loving life. But if you look at Specialized, 10 years ago, they had 16% of the market, which is pretty significant. And if I just roll over it, over the years, they dipped pretty hard down to 2017 and have kind of clawed their way back up over the last couple of years, and they've taken first place as far as the brand to buy from users. So that one's pretty interesting. This green one, Santa Cruz, they were up there for a while and kind of went up and down and have slowly taken a hit. I think they're down into fifth place as far as brand. And if you look at our user survey and people, their average price of their bikes, $5,100, like it's hard to get into a Santa Cruz that you want to ride for $5,100, you know?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You need to double that.
Yeah. So kind of not
for some of them.
Yep.
Yeah. Sure thing.
Canyon, if you can see that, Canyon has done pretty well. They were second this year, and since 2020 they've done pretty well with clawing back at it. We have Comensal in third, looking similar. So I mean, technically Specialized is direct to consumer now. You can order it on their website, but we have Canyon and Comensal as direct to consumer in second and third. What I found interesting too was YT. If you look at the graph, they came up pretty well. They peaked in 2018, and now they've taken a hit.
Yeah, they seem to have a glitch here.
I can still hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
I thought you were glitching out.
Oh,
yeah.
Nope. Yeah, YT. It's interesting just to see how high they were and how they've dropped. So
around 2018, 2019, they were winning some of the individual categories, actually. Like overall brand to buy, they never got to the number one spot, but they did hold the number one spot, I think, in downhill for a year or two, and got very close in enduro as well. They've obviously dropped off over the last few years. It seems to correlate to Canyon and Comensal and those guys gaining ground. So overall, I guess there are more brands sharing the sort of direct to consumer pie, because when YT took off on their big growth, the other brands were kind of lagging behind there a little bit in our niche of the market. Obviously Canyon is a much bigger company than YT, because they serve many more product categories. But as far as our reader survey is concerned, YT was the first direct brand to make a big move on our charts.
Yeah.
And I guess they're having to share the pie now a bit.
Yep, that makes sense.
As this segment overall kind of grows, the direct to consumer.
Yep. All right, we'll cruise down. What's next? Frames, I think. Frame to buy, it's probably a pretty small market, but Santa Cruz wins in the frame category, which kind of makes sense when you look at the prices of their build. So you can get into a frame and customize it. That works pretty well.
And also this, when you're buying a frame, you're building your own bike and you're after something a bit special. You're probably going to invest in the parts most of the time. We totally see this in our bike check section. There are a lot of pimped out Santa Cruz frames being put up there almost on a daily basis. It's the hardest job for me is just picking which Santa Cruz to feature now, because that's a lot of people it's the go-to. I'm going to build myself a sick custom build. I'm going to do it all myself, pick all my parts. That frame is going to definitely be on the short list for sure.
Cool. Yep. Specialized still in there, and some of their frame prices recently, it seems like they've had some discounts, but like a Stumpy Evo Alloy, I think it's like $19.99 right now. Like that'd be a fun bike to build up. So that's not a surprise.
Oh yeah.
Comensal, kind of no surprise there either. Just good bikes, good price, especially if these are people looking at downhill bikes or enduro bikes. I've got Transition, Trek, Nuke Proof, Yeti, Banshee. Hey, there's Forbidden. And Norco hanging in there. But yeah, that one's just a fun one to look at, So cruise on down. Fork to buy. And here we get into the inversion. It's a two-party system here, basically. If one does well, the other does bad. But you can look. So we have Fox back in 2012 over RockShox as far as fork to buy. Then they swap in 2014, which Do you remember anything that happened in 2014 with suspension performance that would make
Well, I
such a
mean,
gnarly
yeah,
shift?
RockShox were definitely working on the whole range by then. Was it the rebirth of the Lyric or not yet? That was the Pike, I think.
I don't remember. Okay.
That's pretty much the heyday of the new Pike, which was their like first 35 mil chassis, not the downhill fork, obviously, but
Yep.
and they had Pikes on enduro bikes for a couple of years until they revived the Lyric. I remember that.
Okay.
So that's probably what was going on there, because it made a lot of noise. I mean, that fork felt different to a lot of the other stuff that was available at the time. When that came out, it sort of started this new feel of RockShox, which they've kind of held on to this day. We'll talk more about it when we get to 2022, but yeah.
Okay. And then, yeah, so they kind of basically end up tying here in 2016. Fox takes over. And then just this year, we have a swap. RockShox on top and Fox on the bottom.
Yeah.
So on the bottom, relatively speaking.
Yeah. Well, among the two, sure. Yeah.
So
it's good though. And you can sort of point to a couple of major things. Now, I don't know if the 2022 swing, it's not down to just that, but RockShox, they have added a few nifty little things to their 2023 line, which they've been selling already for a few months now. These buttercups that they've put in and stuff like that. It's it's not a gimmick. Like it really those new forks feel pretty amazing, and they've been getting rave reviews right across the media landscape, and of course they have a super strong OEM position with the whole package that they provide to bike brands, from suspension, shifting, brakes, the works. So, and that puts them in a favorable position, obviously, to build from. But their stuff is really good, so I'm not surprised that people are returning to it, so to speak. Not
for sure
they really went anywhere, but yeah.
Yep. Oops, sorry about that. But yeah, Undecided is still up there, and if we look at Orleans, did I say it right?
Yeah. Orleans in Swedish. Yeah.
They're hanging tough and climbing. They made it into third. Got Marzocchi, kind of had a heyday back in 2012 and then dipped a bit, and now they're coming back. DVO had a little bit of a heyday in 2019. EXT, their fork, pretty niche brand, but little peak. Suntour's in there, and Cane Creek as far as the forks rounds out. Yeah, that's it for forks, and so we'll get to rear shocks now. And again, two-party system with Bernie Sanders rolling in here maybe in 2014. I don't know. I'm not trying to get political. I'm just trying to have a little fun.
And then he lost his mittens, and
so yeah, Fox was the rear shock to buy. RockShox was fairly far down there, and Cane Creek. This is like double barrel days, right? Back in 2014, that kind of swooped in. Yep, and then
they were working with Orleans at the time, so that was actually Orleans technology. That the first time it started appearing was in that double barrel shock, and got really popular for a while. Then that generation had a few issues, and I think you can tell by the sharp decline that people were sort of over that one for a bit. And now it's stabilized, and Orleans has taken a fair chunk out of that bit, I guess, as well.
Yep. But yeah, if we look at Fox over the years, they had that kind of downturn in 2014 and then came back to the top until 2020, and then they've had a rough go the last 2 years, but they still held on, going into this year. But be curious to see what next year looks like based on their descent and RockShox climbing up. So yeah, and we have here EXT has made a pretty significant climb over the last couple years. So, and you have one on your bike, right?
I do. Yeah, absolutely awesome shock. Yeah, for sure. It makes sense to me that they're getting more traction in the shock market. Well, first of all, it's easier to replace a shock, so it's something people will kind of play with. I think, the price is a bit lower compared to a fork, so it's the kind of thing you throw on your bike to try it out. Although an EXT shock is pretty pricey, but yeah, absolutely, really good performance. The hydraulic bottom out they have works really well, feels great. And that makes total sense to me. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Let's see. Slap some push in there. Push hanging out. It's a pretty niche space, but yeah, the people that love them. So
yeah, that goes well with all those Santa Cruz frames for the custom builds. The 10K bike checks. That's that's a staple.
For sure. All right, keep on going. Wheelset to buy. Wasn't a whole lot in this one other than
Well,
what
yeah,
happened to Mavic? Like,
just
dude, they were huge. Where'd they
yeah,
go? Here they are
yeah,
on the list. What happened?
yeah. I have no idea, man. During these years when they were declining, they were just growing their product portfolio like nuts. They were getting into apparel, helmets. I don't think they had protection, but backpacks.
Yeah.
And huge. They were presenting huge ranges at. We used to go to Eurobike back 2016, 2017. They'd have like a whole just display of gear for women, for men. It was all over the shop, and at the same time they were really stuck in their ways. Maybe a French thing, but they were very late to the wide rim party. Pretty
Mm.
much everybody went to a 30 millimeter rim around these years, 2015, 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And Mavic were saying, nope, we believe a narrower rim is better. They had, Jerome Clements was racing their stuff,
Oh
and he
yeah.
was, racing on 26 millimeter rims or whatever. And of course, we know a narrow rim can be put to good use in racing. Like Loic Bruni still races narrow rims compared to some of the other guys, and not so wide tires, stuff like that. But that's a very, very small niche of people who are able to exploit those things in that way. And the market just wanted wider rims, and Mavic said, "No, we're not making them." And the market said, "Okay, see ya."
Yeah.
And it's been a struggle for them to recover since then. They also had a few years of pretty terrible service performance. They have some proprietary spokes and stuff like that were super hard to get for a while. Like you could wait 6 months if you broke a spoke, and just because
Jeez, dude.
there was just no way to make them fast enough or whatever. And yeah, that's what ended up happening. It's
Mm.
sad because 2012, if you were building a downhill bike and it didn't have yellow D-Max rims, like was it even a downhill bike?
For sure. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it even a downhill bike?
So yeah,
DT
yeah,
Swiss, they've done nicely. Kind of took their
yeah.
time and remain at the top. Not a huge
OEM
surprise.
kings for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Industry 9 too, with
Hmm.
what they're doing. They've come up pretty well. It looks like they had a little dip in the last couple of years, but
Yeah.
I think the biggest one is the We Are One. And this is, if you're going to buy a wheel set, intent to buy, they have some fans out there.
Yeah.
So for the last
Yeah.
couple of
Yeah.
years, like they're up there. They're in third place,
Yeah, they're pretty competitive pricing for such a quality product. I've tested it. I still have that wheel set running on a bike, and yeah, didn't manage to break it, and it's still going strong,
Cool.
like the wheel.
Yep.
Yeah,
And then Hunt too, pretty solid, affordable wheels. Not a huge surprise to see them claw up too. So
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
currently testing those actually. Yeah, that review has yet to drop, but
Okay.
doing well so far. Yeah.
Sweet. All right, let's
Mm-hmm.
move on because there's a lot to go through. Tires,
Yep.
not a huge surprise. Maxxis at the top with their peak in 2018 and a little bit of a dip. And I guess this was kind of Schwalbe sort of rose up a little bit, but then seemed to fall off.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. It's a tough one to crack. Like, people are creatures of
That
habit.
one. Sure thing. I mean, you're not going to make a mistake, right? If you throw on a pair of Maxxis tires on your bike, you know what you're getting. It's pretty much right up there as far as performance goes. And exo casing over the last couple of years hasn't been awesome. They tend to flat a lot and get cuts and stuff, but they're improving those, and
Yep.
and it's still kind of the no mistake kind of choice.
For
I will
sure.
point out that there's a lot more valid options over the last couple of years, where you get the same feeling, sort of grip and confidence. Specialized is worth mentioning because their latest range is super good. I don't know where they are here. They're right down there.
Yeah.
Goodyear surprised me actually this year. They're not even on this list, but
Hmm.
they put out some really good enduro tires just a few months ago. So things are happening, and there are options to explore out there
For
if you
sure.
want to go nuts and not put Maxxis on your bike.
Yep. Yeah. And if we're looking at the race season this year, people on Continentals like Bernard, Atherton Squad, like Continentals posted up pretty hard too this year. So be curious to see
Yeah.
what they look like as time goes on. So
Yep.
cool. Fresh meats. And okay, for everyone in the survey, the 2022 survey, it's the PDF file that I'll send. Things get broken down more specifically into tire sizes that are preferred, and details like that. And so it's just too much data to talk about through here. But when you get a chance, you can hit that PDF link and go deeper. So handlebars, one of the things people are most picky about. Um, who's up here? Yeah, Renthal.
Always.
They were up there, but man, they've taken a pretty good hit over the last couple years. Undecided still way up there. We have Deity in third place, no surprise. Raceface is
for
in
sure.
there.
Deity's been around a long time, and they make pretty awesome stuff, good vibe and good quality stuff. So always like prime choice when you're specking out your bike. No surprise to see them up there. But
Yep. Look at
One Up have
the meteoric rise of One Up. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of interesting points with One Up. First of all, they only got into a sort of wider aspect of the component game around a few years ago, because they started out making that. You remember that when one bike conversions were all the thing? That's how they got started. They had that bigger sprocket and a cage that you could swap out on your Shimano derailleur to get a wider range one by system before they became widely available. That's how they kicked off, and then they decided to get into a broader part of the component game, and they've done really well. They seem to always hit a really good price point, and the stuff is really good. The handlebar specifically, we ended up doing a flex test. Because a lot of companies will claim that there's a certain amount of flex in their handlebars, and One Up actually designed kind of an oval profile to their handlebars, and we did a test. You can look it up on the site. We might throw up a link later.
Yeah.
Where we actually tested the flex, and they came in, I think, at least twice as flexy as the nearest competitor. So there was some actual truth to the claims for this specific one, and it's a really nice handlebar.
Yeah.
So not surprised to see it make this kind of advancement here on the buying intent, for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know, to some degree, the bravery of saying your product is flexy. That used to be such a bad word to hear about anything bike related, like no, it's all right. So
yeah. Oh, they probably said compliant. I probably said flexy.
Okay. Compliant. There you go. All right.
Yeah.
Yep. I saw a live chat question that mentioned, hey, why isn't brand X, Y, or Z in here? These are the top 10 brands over the last 10 years. So there's other brands in the results, but these are the top 10 that we're comparing. So if you wonder why your favorite brand's not in there, they must not have made the top 10. But yeah,
but like it can still be a cool brand. It's still totally okay to keep riding it.
All right, stems. Now stems are one of the things that's super interesting where, like, aside from getting the geometry you want, like length, rise, all that stuff, it's such a non-technical product, and it's probably the easiest thing you can do to make your bike look special is to buy a cool stem. So
sure.
Undecided still reigning supreme, but Deity holding that top spot with the stems.
As well they should. I mean, as well they should. Who are we to say which brand should win a reader survey? But definitely, like, very, very good stuff, high quality, and there's not a lot to say about stems usually. You bolt them on and they sit there and they hold your handlebar, and if they look cool, good for you. If you like them, go for it. The actual only one on this list that gives me headaches and fits is the rental one.
Yeah,
like their Apex 35 mil. Yeah. And the thing is that they machine so much material out of it that it's actually kind of flexy in the wrong way. And I always struggle to get enough torque on them. It's the one stem over 10 years of testing stuff that I find sometimes will slip, if you don't really, really crank it down. And so that's a weird one. But it still has a lot of brand appeal, obviously, and it comes OEM on a lot of high-end bikes and whatever. So yeah.
Cool. Yep. Race face, kind of some ups and downs, and go through. Got Berg Tech coming up a little bit, which is good. So those are pretty fun pieces of bike jewelry to put on if you want something flashy on your bike. Grips. ODI.
Wow, yeah.
Maybe ODI came down this far because they're making everyone else's grips. Like, I don't know if they do that. But.
I couldn't tell you. But 10 years ago, that there was only one grip to buy, and
for sure
now there are many.
Yep. But dude, Ergon, they came up and stayed up. I thought people didn't like Ergons all that much, but apparently they do. So maybe they've refined them over the years.
Maybe. No comment.
Yep. DMR, I assume these are because of Brendog's def grips.
Yeah, must be.
Yeah, which is sweet to see. Go Brendog. Boom.
Go Brand.
Yeah. Got
For sure.
some census in there holding out. All right. Good job. And headsets. Do we need to go into headsets all that much?
No, not
Okay.
really.
Until there's a headset category about cables routed through the headset, then then we'll start that. We'll have another discussion
Yeah.
about that later on.
Or not.
No, or not. Okay, sounds good. All right, Brakeman 2058. Let's talk some brakes. Shimano
Yeah.
way up there, sort of sliding down.
Yeah.
So the Magura seems to be the big climber this year, or like over the last 10 years. They got into second place.
They've been on a steady growth path.
Yep.
And matched by the decline in Shimano's position.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if there's some relativity here, obviously, where I think the overall market might be growing and more brands are coming in to take chunks out of it.
For sure.
But Shimano had an unassailable lead going back 8 years or whatever. They were just in their own category, and they've been steadily dropping off. And we really like their latest brakes. Like the new stuff is really, really good, except for that little wandering bite point issue, which is a real thing. It's not to the point of being detrimental to your riding experience that much, but it is there, and it annoys people. And I don't know if this graph is a direct reflection of what's going on there, but there are definitely really good options. Including now brakes that feel very close to Shimano in terms of power delivery and that direct response that you want from a Shimano. So no surprise to see others eating into the lead here.
Yep.
And I will point out on this slide, I've been testing for a few months. Those of you who read the site, you'll know this. You might have read the review of Hope's new Tech 4, but that definitely is, for me, the revelation of 2022. And I've ridden most of all of these brakes, and really, you can go read the review to get all the details, but super, super impressive power delivery, very, very powerful, very direct, but none of the grabbiness that you might associate with some Shimano models, and all the build quality that you would expect from Hope, and no wandering bite point for sure. So be interesting to see if that actually causes any kind of major shift. Hope have their position, and they've always done relatively well. But I'd say they're poised to jump up further here now.
Cool. Yeah, lots of good stuff. And yeah, Magura coming up. I have to imagine that, Loic's success doesn't hurt too much on that front, but they make good brakes and they've been around for forever. So
Yep, they do.
All right. Derailleur's two-party system again. Shimano, they're pretty tied back in 2012. Then Shimano came up, SRAM came down, flip-flop a little bit, and now SRAM is at the top of the list. Almost 50% of people want to buy a SRAM. Derailleur with Shimano at 38%. Kind of not a lot here. They both have 12 speed. It seems like a preference thing as far as like feel and performance and all that. So
pretty much. I would assume also any kind of major shifts in the last couple of years could have something to do with availability and COVID effects and OEM and all that kind of stuff. But yeah.
Yep. Cranks. I don't know. Do we need to go too far into cranks here? No, race face. So
probably not.
Yep. It is cool to see 5 dev, the cranks that Nico's been running. That's pretty neat with the, the cutout, so you can kind of see the crisscross room. Like they landed on the survey. That's super neat to see. So well done, Nico, for helping get those things out there. That's pretty neat.
Cane Creek is 5th here. That's impressive because as far as I know, they only make $1,000 crank.
Oh yeah, the EE like tie wings or whatever. Yeah. Well, you saw some of those household incomes, so.
That's it. That's right. This is definitely going to go on that custom Santa Cruz bike check. Yeah,
for sure. Chain rings. If you go into the survey data itself, we ask about oval versus round, things like that. So, Absolute Black hanging out on top with, who's this red one? SRAM coming in there, but another one we don't.
No big surprise with better pricing to replace your OE stuff.
Yep,
makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where are we going? Chain guides, man. E13, they were at the top there for a while. Pull that down.
It was the one to own.
It was, yep. And who's here? Yeah, that's just a battle of, a small market. But hey, one up. Look at, they are top one, and kind of hits that
Yeah,
trajectory you were talking about, the stuff they came out with early. And
absolutely. Yeah,
yep,
yeah. They've managed to carve out a pretty good market share chunk in a bunch of little niche areas of the bike, and
yep,
well done to them. Yeah,
yep, for
very good
sure.
stuff.
Flat pedals, they win medals. Not
Yo.
anymore. But
No, not anymore. No.
decided. All right, Crank Brothers, you are the flat pedal face-off master here, which we'll link to that feature too. But are you
Yeah.
surprised by Crank
Yeah, I've
Brothers?
tested pretty much every pedal here. Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by Crank Brothers, to be honest, because they've never like scored that high. Most of the pedals that have won our flat pedal shootout category over the past few years. They're sort of sitting here from second, third, fourth place down. We had our test winner DMR. Runner up was Deity. Who else did we score well? I mean, Raceface is definitely the latest Atlas is in the top 5, I think, or top 6 anyway. Bergtech making awesome little pedal. Census is knocking on the door of the podium in that category as well. They just had a pedal released this year. They're not on this list, obviously. Yeah, I was a bit surprised to see Crank Brothers score this high for so long. Like, people obviously like their pedals.
Yeah.
I just feel that they're just a tiny little bit down on grip compared to some of the test winners. But I'm definitely splitting hairs here. It's what we're supposed to do. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. One up again from nowhere to way up. So yeah. Like you said, Deity, DMR, and so on. Cool. Clip pedals. And here's another two-party. You have Shimano, you have Crank Brothers.
Yeah.
Trading places, trading paint the whole way down. So yeah, it's time's getting in there. But yeah, it seems like you're running Shimano or Crank Brothers based on this. I don't ride clips, so I don't have a lot of input on this one.
Yeah, me neither. But yeah, those are different kind of clip-in systems as well. So I guess if you're married to one, then that's kind of what you're going to stick with. And yeah, they have good offerings, obviously.
Yep.
Didn't we see? Oh yeah, no, sorry, that's coming up.
Okay.
Shoe category.
Yep. Saddle. I mean, everyone's butt's different, and it's a matter of what you prefer, I guess. So
yep.
You guys can dig into that. We don't need to go in the weeds on saddles. Dropper post. Back to one up.
Yeah, this is an interesting one to me. First of all, that one up is leading the category. Makes absolute perfect sense because they have a super good price point. They have a ton of travel options, and they make a really good dropper. Like it performs well. It doesn't have any major reliability issues, and it's really competitively priced compared to a lot of the competition. So that makes total sense. And these days people want to buy a dropper that's not going to fail them. That's the long and short of it. Because we've had 10 years of failing dropper posts basically ever since this thing became a must-have on every bike, and so that makes a lot of sense. The RockShox took a lot of heat over their reverb, and you can see that in this graph. That was. Yeah, sure. I mean, it came out with a bang, and it was technologically very different to everything else, and it got spec'd on a lot of OE bikes and whatnot, and then people were really over them because they caused a lot of problems. They had to be bled off and then all kinds of things. So they're climbing back up, whether that's OE driven or whether that's AXS driven, because they have the only really viable wireless dropper on the market.
Yep.
Who knows? But the latest generation is a good product for sure, both the wired and the wireless version. So it's kind of logical to see them clawing back some space. But I guess they still have a bit of goodwill to earn back, because that's how these things go. Yeah.
For sure. Yep. Yeah. Where's Fox is the green, kind of peaked in 2017 and they're falling off a little bit. Bike yoke, solid, right?
Yeah, that won our test. That won our shootout. Definitely. If you ask me, which is what our shootout is, asking me, yeah, that's the one I put number one. Just in terms of overall usability and reliability, they have that Revive external bleed function, where if you get air in your cartridge, you can bleed it with just a Formula Allen key without having to open it up at all. and it's also super smooth and just an all around very, very good product. It's nearly twice the price of the One Up though, which probably is indicative of why these positions are the way they are here. But
For sure.
If it's the Rolls Royce you're after, you're probably looking at the bike yoke.
Cool. I'm gonna go on record and say any bike that's had a Trans-X on it, I've never had any problem with it. Cheap.
Yeah, I know you're not the only one. Yeah, absolutely.
No, just
yeah,
cheap post seems to work well. So cool to see it in there.
Yep. Yep.
Boom. All right, Fullfaces. All right, helmet guy.
I'm also the helmet guy now.
Yep. So
you look at that.
It was kind of a Fox Troy Lee battle for, and it still is. And so Troy Lee was up there 10 years ago, kind of took a dip, clawed their way back up. Now I don't know, there's a lot of close together things here, but Fox is at the top of the Fullface list. And again, if you go into our survey, we break it down into, convertible helmet too, as an option, or a downhill or an enduro. So there's some nuances in the actual survey data, but this is just kind of compiled to give us this top 10 over the last 10 years. So, but yeah, who else?
No major surprise here. It's what, these are the two trusted brands and the brands that people like to buy, There's the helmet world. There's a lot going on with purchase decisions, and one of the aspects that comes into it is people want to look good in their helmet, and that's definitely on the list. So definitely. I think we can all agree that those two brands have nailed that aspect, and you know what you're getting, and they do well in terms of safety research as well. They're not lagging behind much, if at all. They always seem to jump on all the latest tech, whether it's MIPS or multi-layer density, foam, all that sort of good stuff. They're pretty much on the ball. So
cool. Yep, 100% sliding in. Leah kind of climbing up pretty nicely. Hawk a little up and down, but consistent, and then a few others. So open face, kind of that same thing. Undecided is way up there, but you can see it. Troy Lee hangs out on top just barely this year, with Fox coming in, peaking in 2020 and then having a little bit of a dip. But yeah, Pac, Giro, Smith in there holding on. I see a lot of Smith helmets out here. Yeah, Bell, Specialized, they always have nice lids too. So just like you said,
dude, their latest offering got really good reviews with the stuff that came out earlier this year. Was it like the new upgraded Ambush and what was the other one? I forget the name, but you can check it out on the site. Super good reviews and super high safety ratings from Virginia Tech as well. So
so it's one of those things. It's like, does it look good and does it fit your head? There's so many different variables.
Absolutely.
Oh, convertible helmet, we do have that in here. So
we do.
That.
Don't buy them.
Yeah, it was interesting that data. It seemed like it peaked a couple years ago, and now there's not a ton of interest in it. So so leads in there. Anyway, there's that. What was this one? Shorts. We're getting down to the end, and we're getting into clothing here, but even shorts, like a lot of people are undecided. Maybe it's just when you walk into the shop or go online, whatever looks cool, you're going to try it. But Fox is hanging out on top right now, with Troy Lee Designs having some strength a few years back and kind of dipping a little bit. So
I will say over the last few years, following the apparel category and testing a lot of stuff, it's amazing what the sort of textile industry in general just has been able to pump out for us. Like all these fabrics that have come out over the last few years, they're not just technical for the sake of being technical anymore. You can really feel a difference. Like a lot of the performance benefits that brands will claim, they're actually there, and you can get stuff is lighter, more robust, breathes better. Rain gear has come on in the last 5 years like crazy. It's so much better now. So it basically, to an extent, you're buying logos. A lot of people will buy what they want to wear in the bike park or out on the trails, and that's what they want, just what they want to look like, and they love the brand. But there is a lot of room for brands to just jump in and offer really good gear, like just from the get-go, because these obviously the manufacturing wherever it takes place is sort of a global industry, and as a whole, that industry has a capacity now to innovate and put out really good stuff. So we've seen some brands, maybe it's coming up in jerseys or whatever. There's some new brands that didn't exist, a couple of years back, and they've managed to carve out a chunk of interest already. So
cool. Yeah,
It's good to see. Yeah, competition is good for us,
for sure,
for the consumers.
Yep. So just Darko had a little bit of a climb from being down low, but they're getting some more presence. So yeah, cool. Rafa's in there. That big bucks. Jersey's kind of the same thing, undecided. We have Troy Lee swapping to Fox, and yeah, kind of similar sentiment to what you're talking about, which is the progression of fabrics and gear. Same with gloves. You know, Fox is top for gloves. Do you have any specific input? We can stay on it, or we can just kind of cruise down. It's getting into these smaller categories where just so much personal preference involved.
Yeah.
Okay. Goggles. 100%. Look at that, coming out of nowhere, skyrocketing to the top, and still hanging on with undecided in there. And who's third? Where's Oakley? Oakley had a lot, and they've fallen off. Yeah, it's one of those ones where it's just like, is it market share or just like the amount of options in the market, or you know?
Well, you know, if you go back to those days, 100% was a goggle company. And they had some T-shirts, but that's what they were making, goggles. And over the last few years, they've grown out their mountain bike range. Now they have apparel and protection and helmets and all kinds of sick stuff. But you know, that company literally was a goggle company. So not surprised to see them take such a huge chunk out of Oakley's market share at one point, and they're still holding on.
Yeah, cool. All right, cruise on down. Flat shoes. All right, shoe master.
See?
Adidas 510.
Many talent.
Not a huge
look
surprise.
At that, 74%.
Yeah. But I don't know. There's more options down there, and Ride Concepts.
And actually, these are real options now. Like you actually have a choice, and it hasn't been like that for many years at all. If we're being brutally honest, you know, the 74%. I'm surprised that 25% of people would even consider buying anything else in 2017. Like, what were you doing? Those were not good shoes. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But you know, there are a couple of contenders now who have come up in just recent years, specialized with the very latest iteration of their 2FO shoes with the slip knot rubber. Like, it's their third actual generation of the shoe and the rubber. Absolutely on par with 510. You know, we said it when that shoe came out. Did Specialized crack the code? Yes, they did. If it's pure grip you're looking for, this matches up 510 Stealth rubber 100%. They'll go head to head. Giro has just released a new shoe, the latest version of their latch, which gets pretty close. It's not quite there yet, but it's very, very close. Ride Concepts is also close. And within that group, I would say you're looking at 3 or 4 absolutely valid options. Like, you can ride anything. Wet days in the bike park, you have to trust your shoe to grip in any condition. Those are absolutely valid options, and it didn't used to be that way. So I wouldn't take it as there's a lot of online chatter. Oh, Adidas bought 510 and the brand is going downhill. Not really. The Stealth rubber is the same. Build quality has been up and down over the years, depending on which model you're talking about. But 510 makes awesome shoes for mountain biking, no doubt about it. And they've actually put out some really good alternative models over the last couple of years. Like, there's a wet weather shoe that's really good. They've got this sort of cross trail thing going.
Trail cross,
do a little bit of Yep. That's actually a really good shoe. And of course, their Freerider Pro is still a go-to choice for any kind of riding. So I wouldn't take that graph as saying, oh yeah, that's it, 510 is going down the drain. There's just actual valid competition, and that's good. It's super cool to see, because literally until a few years ago, if you wanted the really good grip, you didn't have a choice. Now you do.
Yeah, cool. Good to see. Options are awesome. Clipless shoes, since neither of us ride clips. Adidas is still up there, undecided. Shimano.
Yeah, look at that Crank Brothers shoe though.
Yeah.
And this is a fun story, because they actually got into the shoe game in 2020. They didn't make mountain bike shoes before, and they came out with a pretty awesome initial range. Though we really liked those shoes when we tested them. I tested them for flats, and the only thing is they don't have the grip that you need to really compete in the category. That's the bottom line. The shoe is super awesome. I never wanted to like a shoe as much as I did when that thing showed up, pretty much, because it, like, there's a BOA option, and the shoe looks super stylish, and it's super comfortable on the foot. It's got all kinds of good things going on, and it's just it's just let down a little bit by a not grippy enough sole. But obviously they've taken a big chunk out of the clipless market, so that's good to see, because it's really a good shoe. And so hopefully they can come out with the second generation with better rubber for us flatties, and we'll get on that train too.
Yeah, with their pedals having so much of a market share, make their shoes good.
Yeah,
home run.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Cool. Knee protection, oops, right there. Undecided. Box takes the win again, and there's a lot of close competition through here. Liat stepping up a little bit. 7 kind of going up and down. Pac was up there and then kind of leveled out a little bit lower. G-Form, Troy Lee, IXS. Again, fit, price, function, comfort.
Yeah. What logo you like?
Yeah, right? Yeah. So
yeah, it's a lot of it.
All right. Hydration packs. We don't get in other than this Camelback. Camelback used to own it. Now it's shared by quite a few different brands. So, yep. Keep on moving. That's the end.
Whoa, that's the end.
Yeah, there we go. We're an hour and 15 minutes in. There's some, looks like most of the live chat is just people, calling out their favorite brands and what they like, which is awesome, because that's what this is all about. Whatever works for you is what we want you to be happy in. Get out there and ride. Hold on, let me get back to here. Close off this real quick. If I can move it here. That's going away. Yeah, that's kind of it. I hope everyone's had fun going through all this data, and say it a 5th time, I'll put links to the page we just scrolled through with all the graphs and the interactive graphs, as well as our 2022 survey PDF, where you can dig into the extreme minutia of every brand filled out. Even if something got 0.01% of a vote, they're in there. You can see where your favorite brands lie. But man, this has been pretty fun. And again, thank you, Vital MTBers, for taking the time to fill this survey out. I know it takes a long time, but it just helps us. It helps the bike industry see what you all care about, regardless of what they might be pushing. If you don't like it, it shows in this survey. And so, we're really grateful for the time you take to fill this out. And look forward to doing it again next year too.
Yeah, and we should have like an overall graph which just says how awesome is mountain biking, and that just keeps going up. Is it the other way? Does it go up that way? I don't know if my screen is inverse, so whichever one is up, that's where mountain biking is headed. There's only one way up.
That's right. Yeah, get out and ride. If you're in Boise, Idaho, it's too snowy and muddy right now, or rainy to go ride, but get out there, ride. We don't care what you're on or what gear you're in. It's all about just having fun on 2 wheels. And everyone, thanks for tuning in. And hit up vitalmtb.com. We're always there. We'll be on here. Us on Instagram at vitalmtb. We're out and about, and hope to see you out on the trails.
Yeah, happy trails. Shaka bra.